Huge thanks for being my guest today, man. You are a guy in demand, and for you taking it out. I know how hard you're traveling and everything right now, and you and Kirk have big goals, and I love that. And watching you guys grow and expand is awesome. Um, you are, you are a guy in demand in the industry. I know, you're invited. I'm invited to the shows, Matt, so that I'll pay money for a booth. You're invited so you can drop wisdom on them, right? So that's where we're at right now. I aspire to be you one day, man. But we're talking about influence today, and I couldn't think of a better guest to bring into the webinar series to have a conversation about influence. Here's also what's fun, Matt. You and I are largely working with our clients to achieve the same goals. In some ways, we're competitors, right? Doesn't matter, right? You're doing awesome things for advisors. I feel like we're doing great things at Social Advisors too. And when we're talking about influence, I've been pumped for this conversation because what I've done just to kind of fill everybody in. So I've created a PowerPoint. I know, yawn PowerPoint, but it's really more than anything, it's to keep us on task.
Yeah.
Because our conversation could go in a whole bunch of different directions. So in order for us to kind of hit our benchmarks, so what I'll do is I'll share that now. And what I really hope we can do, Matt, is more than anything, just have a conversation, man, and see what we can do about dropping some wisdom on our attendees here. Let me do something and put this in. There's got to be presentation mode on here somewhere. There we go. All right, cool. So you and I are small talking heads now. But look at how. So I will tell you, Matt, one of the things that you in promoting this, one of the things that you did in promoting it that I loved was your opening line was, "Are you sick of selling?" Dude, aren't we all brought up? I mean, I know you with Carson Wealth and me with 50 Below and FMG before Social Advisors. I mean, we are brought up where a lot of advisors, the training for financial services happens in college or wherever you gain that knowledge, right? You join a big wirehouse for the sales training. This becomes a sales job. I'm sick of selling. Are you sick of selling, Matt?
Dude, I'm good at it, as you are, but I'd rather have people come in ready to buy. It's just easier. I'm also tired of saying the same things over and over and over again, right? That's one of the most frustrating things about sales is, it's almost like you're an actor doing the 900th take, right, to try to get it right. That's what you guys do at Social, and that's what we do at Proudmouth, is help just speed up that whole curve so that when people are coming to you, they already know who you are because you're everywhere on social media, right? And they do the same thing with us because they're either following us on social or they're, listening to our show. So
yeah. Our mutual friend Cheryl just said that she'd rather use honey, right? and I hate selling too. I mean, it was like quotas and I mean, it just whatever, so the whole environment around selling, I think, is tired. I think that people are tired of being sold to. If we look at you bring any industry into it, right? When you hop on to buy your Sprinter van in the coming months here, you're going to know more about that Sprinter van than the person who's selling it to you, right?
Yes. Oh man, right? Brother. Right? Absolutely.
15 years ago, maybe you had to go get a salesperson to get knowledge, and then you were subject to whatever bias they had. Yep. You have an open platform to learn from anybody about that Sprinter van and exactly how you want to set it up. Financial services is no different. No. So, Matt, I put a post out about, I think it's probably on Friday. I put a post out about our webinar today. And I had an advisor that I know well, and you saw it because you commented on it. You said, Charlie, I think influencer is a bad term, right? In financial services, our financial advisors, really that I don't know that lends itself to a credible wealth manager, I think is probably a direct quote from their comment on my promotion of our event. I couldn't disagree more, right? I think the problem we've got is the word influencer becomes, a 17-year-old TikTok influencer or something like that. That's not what we're talking about, but kind of it is. It's just the subject matter is different, right?
Well, in less dancing, which I think is probably really good for most advisors.
Yeah.
But it is the same sort of thing. I mean, it's the idea that influencers, the idea is swaying people, and in our world, to make wise financial decisions, hopefully with you.
Yeah.
Right. But it's the hopefully with you that is what we, kind of need to put a pin in, because all of the social proof that you need to have, you brought up the Sprinter van. I talk about when I bought my last truck. So I have a Ford F-150, like, I don't know, like every other American does, right? And so I've got a Ford F-150, and I went online, I did all my research. I knew exactly what the lease price was, how many miles I wanted, the trim kit. I walked in and said, "You have the truck I want on your lot. Here's what I'm paying for it. This can be the easiest sale you have." And the guy looked at me and he goes, "Okay."
Yeah. Awesome.
And I was in and out within an hour, which was amazing. And financial advisors need to understand that's what everybody's doing for them right now, even with referrals, Charlie. And this is super powerful. So if somebody refers, somebody says, "Hey, Matt, you need to use Charlie." Okay, great. It's Cheryl tells me that. Well, I love Cheryl. I'm gonna, what Cheryl says is word, testament to me. I'm still going to look you up, dude.
Of course.
I'm still going to Google you. I'm going to check out your website, I'm going to check out your social media profiles. I'm going to see if there's anybody saying anything bad about you.
Yep.
But advisors think that people don't do that, and that's just not the case.
Yeah. Here's a fun case in point, right? So I'm at my dad's place, different background. Those of you who know me, usually they've got snowboards on the wall behind me. At my dad's place in Wisconsin, getting his house ready to list for him. And I haven't lived in Green Bay, Wisconsin in 30 years, right? So I need a realtor. I called two friends. Actually, I hit them up on Facebook Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
Two friends got two referrals. I've met with both those realtors. I didn't look at anybody else, right? So I'm not being influenced necessarily by these realtors, but my friends are.
Yeah.
Right now, I've already picked the one that I'm going to work with.
Mm-hmm.
But it was those people's influence over my friends in this town
Mm-hmm.
that led to now one of those realtors having never met me, ever never cold calling me,
Yep.
right? Having never hammered me with whatever, right? With any kind of sales technique, they will list my dad's house for him.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a result of their influence over this one person that I asked for a referral. That was it. Right. That was it. So, Matt, we want to define influence a little bit. But I took this quote from a webinar you did, promoting PodRocket Academy, which we'll talk about a little bit later on.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it, man. I don't take notes on webinars very often, but this one I did. I wrote it down. Influence is the new marketing. Right. Yeah. Tell me what that is, right? I mean, we're kind of talking about it. Going back to that comment on my post on Friday, I don't think that person understood what we meant.
Well, I don't think so either. It's because I think it's that preconceived notion that when we use the word influence or influencer, influencer is the bad word, right? That's the TikTok, Instagram, Kardashian sort of philosophy that a lot of people have. But what a lot of people don't understand is real influence based off of Dr. Robert Cialdini's 7 principles of influence, right? Is actually what a lot of you are already doing. What Charlie and I want you to do is to amplify that influence, get that influence in front of more and more people. Influence is just basically positive persuasion to do something that is in that person's best interest. There's a big difference between influence and manipulation. Manipulation is doing something in your best interest, and that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for people who genuinely want to help other people, give away 99.9% of their thought leadership, and attract them with their personality. Because, Charlie, even the influencers, right? On TikTok and all of that sort of stuff, all of those people, you like them, right? You feel a connection with them personally. Everything else is just kind of collateral. But the other thing too, and this is really happening in financial services specifically, is financial services companies are hiring influencers in financial services to get their products and messages out. You need to do the same thing. In fact, we've got a technique that we use with our clients. It's basically a guest sort of system, which, Charlie, you and I are entirely in line with, basically piggybacking off other people's stuff, right? I mean, that's the power of influence, it gets more eyeballs on your content and gets people to engage with you even more.
Yeah. And I mean, this is an example of it, right?
Right.
Like Matt, you got a great network of people I want to know. I've got a great network of people you want to know. Now, it certainly is helpful that both of us are bringing value to those respective networks, but it opens up influence to new people that we would never have otherwise met, right?
Yeah.
So when you're doing a podcast with a guest, and you're going to talk more about podcasting than I ever could, but when you're doing a podcast, love a solo podcast, love a guest podcast that much more, right? There's more banter there. I could be presenting this on my own. You could be presenting this webinar on your own. The two of us working together create a better experience for the folks who have tuned in today. And it serves our businesses as well to some degree, right? So love that, man. I put these slides together, Matt, just to keep us on task. I'm not sure I know exactly what all of them say until I get to them, because, kind of, I want it to be organic, right?
Yeah.
So the benefits of being an influencer, right? Increases your visibility and credibility for your practice and business. I promise I won't read all of our PowerPoint slides. So I liken this to content marketing.
Yes.
Right. So we'll talk a bit about content marketing here. We're going to talk really specifically about the steps that an advisor needs to take as well to start to create that influence over an audience. And listen, most of you already are influencing an audience. Even if it's with some canned newsletters and some canned content, you're still doing it, but there's ways to do it better. And by doing it better, it gets us to bullet point number 2 here, right? You create authority. Right. When you're creating, and I'll call some people out, right? FMG Suite content. I mean, I don't know how many clients FMG Suite has, but gosh, let's say it's 50,000 advisors. That's probably not too far off. In fact, if anything, I would think that's a little light, maybe. Right. Those 50,000 advisors are sharing the same 200 or 250 pieces of content. That's great for the regulators, right? That's great. That's great. That's great for FMG Suite, but that's not very good for the advisor, right? What happens if go ahead, Matt.
Well, to me, right, there's a time and a place for pre-approved stuff, because I understand that it makes everything a lot easier.
Sure does. For sure.
But when I worked at Carson, one of the things that made me giggle is I would get emails from the advisors that I worked with, and they were all the weekly market commentary, and then they would say things like, Matt, I'm so tired of my clients always wanting to talk about market performance. And I'm like, well, the only piece of communication you send to them is about the freaking markets. Right. And so, the other thing about that canned content, and this actually happens often, is because Charlie, you and I've talked about this on other, I don't remember if it was public or it was just you and I hanging out, but it's the segmentation, right? So let's say you're going to go ahead and throw something out there about Roth conversions when half of your book is generation, millennial and below.
Yeah.
They're like, what? This guy's not even talking to me, right? Or they're talking about Social Security maximization, or they're talking about long-term care, or they're talking about, whatever, or term life insurance, but they're hitting their 70-plus-year-old clients. I mean, you can't just vomit information out there. You have to have real intention, and you have to have real focus. And you cannot be an influencer without that level of focus.
Yeah, I'll share with you a funny story. A couple stories to share while we're on this slide here. So my good friend, client of ours for a long time, Kelly, I do coaching with her as well, and so Kelly and I talk twice a month, and she had just put a post up on LinkedIn about some guy, like how he solves snoring or something like that. I mean, just something totally out of left field. No idea what she would post it, right? And so I get on the coaching call with Kelly, and I said, Kelly, tell me about that guy and his snoring. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, this guy, he almost lost his marriage over the snoring and all this other stuff. What in the world are you talking about? It was, one of these, there's some companies out there that you put your keywords into Google, Google alert, and then you pull articles out of it, right? She didn't even know what she was posting. Like, it was just a random set it and forget it. I don't remember what service she was using. I wouldn't call him out here if I did. But anyway, so she's posting articles. First off, why would you post about some dude who saved his marriage because he figured out his snoring problem in bed? And maybe it had a different, I don't know why she would post that,
I don't know.
but she had no idea what was going on there, right? So anyway, it's important that not only you speak to your audience, but it's authentically you,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
It's
and
not.
that's why I love what you teach too, is right. You're first off, social is part of the name of your company, right? In the product, which is so important, because it can't just also be talking at people, right? It has to be an actual dialogue between you and your audience. And Charlie, your system solves for that beautifully. You guys do it way better than we do, because our advisors don't have that built-in, system and network that you have. But we talk about that all the time. It has to be a conversation. In fact, we have a saying here called pleasing the algorithm, right? And you have to do things that actually the algorithm likes. And Charlie, you and I focus a lot on the algorithm on LinkedIn, brother.
Sure
And
do.
so if you're not doing the right things to please the algorithm, you don't even show up in your clients' feeds or
That's
your
right.
prospects or center influence feeds. And
Yeah.
so, and there's also time, and you probably know this, I'm sure you know this better than I do, but there's a window, right? So Charlie posts something, there's a window in which you need to get activity and in like, shares, and comments. If not, the algorithm just kind of shoots it. Do you know those numbers, brother? Are there like fixed numbers on that anymore? Or
Well, we try to, we key on 15 interactions within 2 hours after you
okay,
post.
beautiful.
Right. And
Okay.
we'll talk about post party here in a little bit.
Okay.
And in fact, I got an offer around post party so people can try it.
Okay.
But that's what we key in on is we want 15 interactions within 2 hours after you post. And it seems like LinkedIn doesn't give this research away, but we work with a couple other agencies on it. It seems like that's the sweet spot. So we've actually built a piece of software to help advisors achieve that. But you got to have the right content too. You can't just post anything in this post party software.
Yeah.
And I'll get into the details and show you how to get there and how to get your 30 days free
Cool.
and stuff. But yeah, to your point, you need to tickle that algorithm, if you will. Is that a good way to say it? I don't know. Massage it, whatever you got to do to get greater exposure for your content. Because LinkedIn's scoring all that content now. And LinkedIn's got a content problem, Matt. We're kind of a little bit all over, but that's okay. LinkedIn's got a problem, right? LinkedIn's got 850 million, profiles now, or whatever that is. It's an environment of people chirping sales messages, chirping expert message. Some of that's important. You do have to sell service, right? I mean, I'm not denying that everybody's got a living to make, but LinkedIn's got a sales problem on their hands, not only with the DM and people being overly salesy in those direct messages, but in their content as well. Mm-hmm. What that does is it creates opportunity for people who know how to post content that gets a reaction, because it's better than all the other content out there, right? So
yeah, one of the big issues that I'm finding is to be influent. One of the most important key components to being an influencer is taking your network but shining the light on other people. And we've got a couple of people who are on this call, and I think Cheryl Hickerson, I'm going to use her as the best example. Cheryl has a humongous network, in fact dwarfs mine and yours, Charlie. Like we're not even in the same league as Cheryl.
Listen, I know.
But what Cheryl is always doing is Cheryl is always showing the spotlight on other people, right? And so it's not me, it's we. And guys, if there's one thing you take away from this, that's it. In order to be truly influential, you can't always be talking about yourself. The ultimate goal is to be highlighting other people who you like, respect, and trust, because that creates this influencer ecosystem. Charlie, those messages that you guys didn't get to hear, well, some people did because they were on early, but Charlie and I were just joking about some of the direct messages that we get through Sales Navigator on LinkedIn. And it's freaking ridiculous how absolutely salesy they are. They don't even know us, and they're trying to sell us within the first message. That's a terrible game.
Yeah. It sure is, right? And there's ways to do it. There's ways to avoid it. I want to hit this last point real quick, Matt. Then we'll move into getting a little more specifically on things that advisors can do today to start growing influence. I wanted to share a story, right? So you and I have been posting content for years and years. I don't know, many years. I don't know how many. So there is a consistency piece to this, but I think we put on 6 new users on our platform in February. 2 of those referrals, which could have been referrals because of influence we've created elsewhere. Mm-hmm. We all love referrals. That's great, right? The others that got on our platform in February, I will tell you, Matt, when I chat with them, and I do all of our, when a call comes in, I take it. You're not,
Mhm.
no one's landing with a sales team or something like that. Um, to the others, all of them said something like, Charlie, I've been watching your content for 2 years.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I got a great opportunity with a gentleman named Doug that I met on. I get some cool training out of it, emotional intelligence, which I need.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to get some cool training out of it. Doug was like, Charlie, I've been seeing your content for 3-4 years, asking me about the winter we spent in Tahoe. He watched my videos from Tahoe. I
Mhm.
didn't know Doug, right? I mean, like, kind of a voyeur situation, but that's what happens.
Mhm.
Like, we don't have really an outbound sales situation going on. Cheryl, we're going to have to wait for a break so I can read that paragraph that you just sent over, because holy crap, it's long. I'll wait for Matt to start talking before I read that. But that's how our business grows now. It's not because I'm making a bunch of outbound phone calls,
Yeah.
right? It's because we post content consistently. We're trying to give away 99.9% of that intellectual property, if you will, and just trying to be good people that provide a good product and serve people instead of sell to them. So
Yeah. I was just at the FPA annual meeting, and this guy came up to me, and he might be on this, so please don't take offense. But he came up to me and he gave me this big hug, and he talked to me for about 15 minutes. And again, Charlie, he knew everything about my kids, swimming, my
yep.
metal art, all of the stuff that about me, and he's sharing stuff about him. And I have my new, we have a national sales manager we just hired, and Mark was standing right next to me. And the guy, like, shakes my hand, gives me another hug, and walks away. And Mark goes, God, dude, is that like one of your best friends? I was like, I have no idea
I don't
who
know who
that
that
was at
is.
all. And he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, that's influence, dude. You just like firsthand experienced what real influence is. Dude, one of the things that makes me so happy is when people meet me like virtually, and they'll say, dude, you're exactly like you are online. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
because I'm tired of trying to be everybody else. I did that
yeah,
for years,
yeah.
Charlie.
Same.
Right? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, yeah. I will tell you. I think probably still. So I worked with a company called 50 Below that is now part of the Broadridge family when I got started in this industry, and we were doing websites for wirehouses. So when we created a relationship, we created with like Morgan Stanley, who at that time had 7 or 8 thousand advisors, right? So um, we would do a contract for 7,000 websites in a pet truck, and that was awesome and beautiful. Dude, I was like a 27-year-old kid in an oversized suit, with a weird looking pencil freaking tie, um, total imposter syndrome, right? And I know that, I think our last slide is a little bit about being authentically you.
Yeah.
I will tell you, Matt, I don't know. I mean, it's like at some point, maybe it's with age, maybe it's with experience, whatever it might be, that stuff, that kind of imposter syndrome stuff falls by the wayside and you become authentically who you are. I used to be scared of LinkedIn, right? I used to be scared to post on LinkedIn because I had a professional community out there that I thought I had to treat in a certain way. And as soon as I got over that,
Yeah.
I love that platform now,
Yeah.
right? Like I stopped caring, like, not that I stopped caring, right? Because my brand's important to me, but I
Yeah.
started representing that brand instead of representing something that I thought people wanted that brand to be,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
and it changed the world, man. It really did.
Charlie, when I was talking to Kirk, my partner, about us doing this, and he goes, Charlie's a really nice, laid back guy. I was like, yeah. And he's like, and I've never met him. And I was like, I know you've never met him.
Yeah.
But that's the sort of stuff, guys.
Yeah.
People buy you. They already assume that you know all of the financial
That's
services
it.
stuff. They think
Yep.
you know that. So why are you hanging your hat, one, on something you can't control at all, the
Yep.
markets, right? They want to buy you. And when you bring your you-ness to the world, whether it's video or podcasts or post or whatever, webinar, seminars, I don't care. Just be you. And you have to be okay in that skin because, well, it's the only skin you have. And you don't want to be like Charlie and I when we first started. Charlie, I tell the story all the time of when I went to my first interview. for Carson for when it was called Peak. And I went to Von Maur and bought the most expensive suit I could buy, $780 suit. And dude, it fit me okay. And I was obviously uncomfortable in it because I was working in the world of nonprofits where I was literally wearing t-shirts, jeans, and Birkenstocks, right? I mean, that was and I'm going from that to, a suit, cufflinks, watches, shoes, all of that sort of stuff. And it's a trap. It's just a huge trap. And it's terribly expensive. But I didn't feel like myself. And then when I started giving myself that permission, like you said, dude, that's really when you can really move from trying to influence like other people, right? And you can see this on social all the time, Charlie. You'll see people who are trying to emulate somebody else, and you're like, yep, I know exactly who they're trying to be.
Yep.
The real influencers are truly themselves.
Yeah, I agree with you. So Matt, diving into the meat.
Yeah.
I think I really believe the first step we take all our clients through is understanding who they serve, and super important, what's the value?
Yeah.
Right. So everybody's unique. I'll share some numbers. Those of you who have been on webinars with me in the past, you've heard these numbers before, but they're important, right? So this might be 2021 FINRA numbers, 618,000 registered reps in this country. Add on top of that, another 65 approximately thousand IARs. And some of those, I'm sure, are crossover numbers, hybrid, whatever, blah, 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 right? But that's approaching 700,000 financial advisors in the United States. Not everybody's practicing. Let's call it 50%. It's still 350,000 professionals. Dude, that's a lot of people in a state divided by 50, right? So when you know who it is you serve and the value you create for them, the first thing that happens is you start to remove competition, right? If you come to the table and you say 618,000 reps, and I bet you I'm reading Cheryl's comments, but she writes too much, so I can't right now, Cheryl, just a second. So when you start to focus on that audience and understand who it is you serve, right, you start to remove that competition. The majority of advisors out there, if you ask them who they serve, they're going to say anyone with money or anyone who fogs a mirror, right? So by getting narrow and understanding your audience, you're going to remove a lot of that competition. Now, when you understand the value you create for them, now you start to speak their language, right? So that for us, that's the first step that we take clients through. Is that similar for you guys at Proudmouth?
Yeah, dude, I mean, that's 80% of our sales process that you just said there. I mean, that is absolutely vital. You have to have that level of focus. In fact, we just posted something today. I had interviewed one of our clients. His podcast is called The Millionaire Lawyer, and he's got a book. And one of the comments was, I focus on the same audience. Can't wait to listen. And my response was, there's a lot of business out there, right? So I hear this all the time. In fact, I was just at a conference recently, and I asked the question, who in the audience has a niche? And of course, half the people raised their hand. And I said, and it can't be women, and it can't be people over the age of 65. 3/4 of the hands go down.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And then so one of the guys' hands was up, and I said, okay, well, what's your niche? And he's like, I work with oncologists in the greater Seattle area who are 55 and above, who are married. I mean, he just kept going, Charlie. And I'm like dancing on the stage. I'm like, that's it. And he was one of the number one producers at the firm. And I said, okay, here's the deal. If you look at the top of the top advisors, right, which all of the people on this call who are advisors want to be, they have that level of focus. Not only do you have to have that focus so you speak their language, but then your second point here, which is network and engage with the right people, those people start coming out of the woodworks, and you start seeing who are the players in that space. Those are the people you connect with. Those are the people you network with. Those are the people that you create content with. And then all of the sudden you are known as that guy, and everything changes.
It really doesn't. My last point here be exercise a bit of patience. Really, if you do it right, it is only a bit of patience.
It is.
Right. It is, because a lot of that expertise and a lot of that the trust, when you start showing up next to these people who are ahead of their industry in that particular area, whatever it is, that trust transfers very quickly, right? Now, going back to that second point, there's a lot of ways to network and create an audience.
Yeah.
Right. Guest podcasts, guest
Yeah.
webinars.
Yeah.
We obviously love LinkedIn and the capabilities of finding professionals on LinkedIn that fit that particular niche.
Charlie, you and I do it every day, right? And I don't want that to be glossed over. What we're doing right now is exactly what advisors should be doing. You and I are friends. We started before we kind of went live. Charlie and I are competing for the same marketing dollars. We're direct competition, but we don't look at it that way, right?
No.
We know that he is now going to get access to people he didn't have access to. I'm going to get access to people I didn't have access to. And our goal is to provide you all with as much free knowledge as possible. And actually 2 free offers at the end of this, which is freaking cool, right? In order to just help you become better advisors. You can do the same thing. So I want to talk about the physician guy real quick. And I said, hey, who is the most influential oncologist in your area? And he's like, well, he's the head of the surgery department. And I was like, so have you ever interviewed him? And you should have seen the look on the guy's face, Charlie. He's like, oh my God, I've never done that. Like, can you imagine getting that guy on your, he's not a client, right? Can you imagine getting that guy? That is in compliance hates when I say this, but it's true. Kind of. It's basically an endorsement. Why would he be on your show? Why would he do a webinar with you? Guys, you all know that I love Charlie and I support everything that Charlie does because I'm here. And also I like and share his stuff all the time. But that's the sort of stuff you can use, that borrowed credibility, hitch your wagon to those people. And when you network and engage with those right people, that is like, talk about acceleration. That is how you accelerate your influence so fast, and it's so powerful, and it works so freaking well.
Yeah. Now, third point here is you've got to stay present consistently. Right. Now we take a little bit different tack towards influence, right? You guys have the podcast and the content that's created out of that. We develop content, and then we do a lot of educational events for advisors, promoting webinars and that sort of thing, right? These things have to happen consistently for influence to grow. Right. If you post content for 3 months and then you go on vacation for 3 months, you kind of lose momentum there. That's probably, Matt, I would think for most advisors, if it's not the creativity of coming up with good content, right? The creativity, it's the consistency of posting content 3 times a week forever.
Yeah, forever.
Like, yeah. So that's the hardest part. In a lot of cases, that's why companies work with your company and my company. Right?
Well, yeah. And we do solve that for everybody, right? I mean, that's why, we love what you guys offer. It's momentum. And I'm so glad that you used that word, because we have something called escape velocity, which is all about momentum. When you're doing the right activities consistently over time, everything becomes more easy for you. It's just simpler, right? And I hear advisors who will tell me all the time, Matt, I don't have time to post on social. And I'm just going to throw up the BS flag, right? No. So when I was a coach, one of my favorite things, I would do 2 audits for all of my clients. One was very self-serving and the other one wasn't. The first one that was very self-serving is I looked at their P&L. So they had to submit their P&L to me, and I guaranteed them that I would find enough savings in their 1-month P&L to pay for my services. Cool. Right? Which, because advisors have subscribed to 19 different things, and they don't need this, and they don't need that. And so I was line iteming things out. In fact, they would be positive money, which just meant I didn't charge enough, which was a totally different story entirely. But, and then the second thing was a time analysis, right? And they hated the time analysis because 1, they didn't want anybody really prying. And 2, because I contradicted that they don't have time, right? It's so easy to find the time to do it. It's not that you don't have time. It's that you're not putting your focus towards it, which is vital and necessary.
Well, and here's, I think the business development activity is essential, right? It's essential for our future, but it doesn't impact anything today. So when you get busy, it's the first thing that gets backburnered, right? And if you do that consistently, you're not going to be where you want to be in 3 months or 6 months or 12 months. It is the most important part. If your goal is growth and revenue, it is the most important part of your day. It is the first thing that gets backburnered because you're not going to see results for it today. Right. And I'm guilty of that too. right? I mean, I'll
Oh.
wake up in the morning and have a to-do list. I could show you mine from this morning. I get into that to-do list, and all of a sudden, I'm not making posts.
Mhm.
And the long paragraph that Cheryl wrote a little while ago was about reaching out to one person a month. Cheryl, I'm going to triple down on that, or a day. I mean, I'm going to triple down on that. We'll talk about it in a second. But part of our formula is engaging with 3 people every single day, right?
Mhm.
Opening new relationships. Um, that's the stuff that goes to the wayside when I get stuck in my to-do list.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff.
I was just at the Orion conference recently, and opening stage, Eric, who's the CEO or the president or founder, I can't remember what his official title is. He said advisors spend 20% of their time with clients. What are they doing with the other 80% of their time? It's not biz dev. It sure as heck ain't marketing, right?
Yeah,
It's so, that's the sort of stuff. And if you look at that client service, that relationship that should be 80% of your time. You should be spending all of your time with clients and showing them love and communicating with them and asking them questions and learning who their networks are.
for
I mean, I
sure.
understand you have to run a business. I have to run a business too. But man, I'm telling you, there is so much time in your day that you're just screwing around watching CNBC for no apparent reason because you're
Yeah.
afraid of the next bank foreclosure or whatever crap. You should
Yeah.
be spending your time doing this other stuff.
Yeah. Now I know we're both super active on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
I got a big video library out there. You do on YouTube as well.
Mhm.
I'm not, Facebook for me. We do run some retargeting ads,
Mhm.
but Facebook is me. I'm
Right.
connected to a lot of advisors. I'm connected to a lot of friends from high school, right? Social
Mhm.
advisors as a presence. We post content on social advisors. It doesn't get a lot of reach.
Mm.
But yesterday my daughter, I'll do a proud dad moment here. My daughter
Woo.
is a certified IT specialist at 13 years old. So we went out to lunch,
Woo.
and anyway, so we celebrated that yesterday. That's my post from yesterday on Facebook. And I'll tell you, the people who know me on Facebook, what's cool about that is that they get a glimpse as to who I am.
Yeah.
They get that on LinkedIn too, but it's just more a purely me kind of presence, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, you're like the king of Twitter.
Yeah, well, I got on Twitter wicked early. And one of the things that ended up happening was early on in my life coaching career, I was listed as one of the top 10 life coaches in the world. And because of that, my Twitter just blew up, right?
Wow, man, I
Yeah.
didn't know what kind of royalty I was hanging
Oh,
out with.
yeah. I studied under the only PhD in North America. It's a long story, but so my Twitter really, really exploded. And in fact, I think I have about 65,000 followers still to this day. And I use Twitter exclusively at conferences now. So I don't really post a lot of other stuff. I post some, funny meme type stuff just because I see it on Facebook or something and I want to post it. But I use Twitter exclusively for business. So when I go to conferences, I do these live 2-minute Twitter interviews with guests and keynotes and wholesalers and things like that. And dude, so the last conference that we did, we had about 50 to 60,000 impressions from just the content that we created alone for the conference organizers, and they can't believe it. It's because that's what Twitter's for, dude, right? So it's funny that you have, each of these 5 platforms on the screen. Each
Yeah.
one of these have different social mores and folkways and cultures based that you have to live within that culture. Like I'm not on Instagram. I mean, my art is on Instagram, but I don't interact on Instagram. I just consume Instagram. I only consume TikTok. I don't actually create anything on TikTok because I just don't want to right now.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, Twitter is, there's lots of issues with it, just like there are issues with LinkedIn.
Sure.
There's issues with political stuff, and I get all of that. But man, I'm telling you, the reach you can have on Twitter is crazy powerful because just a couple of retweets, man, your stuff goes big and fast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot less algorithm specific, right? YouTube for us is really a repurposing place.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
So this webinar, is being recorded. It will go onto our blog on the website. We'll load it up to YouTube and put some keywords and a good description in. And
Mhm.
it being a Google property, it certainly helps us with search.
Yeah.
It's almost like, we just been, I wouldn't say that we use YouTube with a whole lot of purpose. It is where the library of video content that we've created over the years resides. We're not real strategic with it, if you will, Facebook, I like for retargeting ads. We don't run a lot, we don't run a lot of digital advertising. If we do, it's retargeting. For those that aren't aware of the difference there is, as a human that consumes digital media, we see, depending on the research you read, like 5,000 to 7,000 ad impressions a day. Now, that's really noisy and difficult. Now, retargeting, you've all been a victim of it, by the way. If you ever go to Amazon and you're looking at, whatever you want to buy, if you're a bowler, maybe it's bowling shoes. As a surfer, maybe it's a leash or something like that. Matt, as a metal worker, maybe you're buying a new torch. I don't know, whatever the case may be, right? You don't make the purchase and then you go to Facebook and there's an ad for exactly what you were looking at. That's retargeting. And advisors can do that too, right? So it's just the ability to track people who have been to your website, or you've got their, a list of email addresses or something like that. It is serving ads up to people who know who you are instead of strangers. It's that simple, right? So it's just a good brand play is what it is. For us, the king of it all is LinkedIn.
Yeah, oh man,
right? And I'm on it constantly. And in fact, you probably get a quicker response in the DM on LinkedIn from me than you would email. Just I'm in the platform. So
I noticed that about you too.
Yeah, right. The email might sit till tomorrow. The DM on LinkedIn, you probably get that in a little while here. So yeah. Cool, man. Anything else to point out about these platforms, Matt?
Well, so I just want to talk about YouTube very quickly, because YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, right? So the fact that your video library is there, Charlie, really does help you, brother. It really does help you from a SEO perspective. So, advisors who are creating content, audio or video specifically, you can, by the way, post your podcast just audio on LinkedIn or on YouTube. There's a way to upload that from an MP4 perspective. But yeah, YouTube is, I don't think we've, as financial services professionals, we have not scratched the power of YouTube yet. And I think more and more people are, now that more and more people are realizing the power of video.
Yeah. We got a question, Matt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Kira asked, can we maybe touch on compliance as it relates to social media posting? And are there topics that advisors should stay away from, or tips and tricks to make it easier to create content?
You want to take that first? You want me to take it?
I'm going to quote you when I say it. Kira, here's a Matt Halloran quote that I love.
I know what this quote is.
Number one, don't say stupid shit. So that's a Matt. That's not my word. I would never swear in a webinar. That's a Matt word. He swears in webinars. Yeah. So here's the thing. Compliance is scary in principle, but it's not scary in reality. First off, don't talk, to Matt's point, and I won't swear at you again, Kira, but you don't have to talk about specific products. Certainly you don't want to make promissory type messages. Of course we don't want to say those things, right? If you tell a client story, don't use the client's name, right? You can still tell a success story without, sharing too much personal information.
Right.
You're actually probably better off creating compliant content, because you're not swaying into information about annuities or talking about a specific stock pick or something like that, right? Stay away from those topics. And actually compliance is easy. I would say that, right? I mean, I can say that confidently, 25 years of working with a variety of compliance departments. I can speak to the tips and tricks to make easier to create content easier. Repurpose, right? This webinar is going to create a ton of content for us. We're going to share the recording with Matt. His team can create a ton of content off of this webinar. So we've met Matt, obviously, as a podcast. I've got a podcast called RIA Collective that we create a bunch of content out of those interviews. So I think that's probably my tip and trick there, Kira, is repurpose. Man, make a quote board, run that video clip. I mean, it can be the same stuff, just create it differently, if you will.
Yeah. In the don't say stupid stuff really just seems hyper simplistic, but it's really true. But the next layer of the compliance concerns is where are you allowed to post? And so there
Sure.
are very specific guidelines on that and that you have to pay attention to. So for instance, there are some sort there like Instagram is a good example. There are some broker dealers who haven't been able to figure out how to compliantly archive the content on Instagram, so you can't use it. You can't
Right.
use TikTok for lots of reasons, but mostly because it's the archiving component.
Right.
Really, the social part of what Charlie and I are talking about, which is so important, is where a lot of you get very, very uncomfortable. Now, here's the other thing is you need to push back. And this is what a lot of you don't do. Compliance tells you something and you just eat it. Don't, right? So for instance, so Charlie posts something, I comment on it. They come back and say, you're not allowed to comment on that. No, that is not true.
Correct.
Or the liking and sharing, you have to turn off all of that stuff. That is actually not true. FINRA and the SEC have been very, very clear with their last 2 rounds of edits that that is okay. You just can't say, thanks, Charlie, for being a client. Aren't you glad you got a 7% rate of return? You wouldn't say that anyway, right? But that's the sort of stuff that you have to pay attention to. The other thing too that everybody really needs to pay attention to from compliance is when you create longer form content that is a huge burden on your compliance department. And so if they don't have the systems in place to edit a podcast or to review a podcast or a longer form video, that is not because you can't do it. It's because they don't have the man or woman power to go ahead and do it.
Well, and frankly, I mean, you suffer from that, but that's their deficiency.
That's
So
absolutely correct.
yeah, man, they're harming your ability to do business and
Yeah.
and get loud and vocal. The other thing, Kira, that I would say is be relatable, right? We talk about being authentic, but also be relatable. Not everything you post has to be financial services oriented, right? People do business with people they know, like, and trust. So show them who you are. Give them a reason to like you, right? If you cycle, right? Talk about that a little bit. If you've got kids, talk about that a little bit. You're going to resonate with that portion of your audience that shares those things with you. You become a relatable human now instead of a robot that talks about financial services all the time. Right, because we got a few of those out there. But so we'll continue with Kira here. Pushback from your compliance department, of course you do. So you manage marketing for a Canadian wealth management firm. So Kira, listen, like push back on compliance. Their inability to staff appropriately might be part of the problem.
Yes.
And that's hurting your advisor's ability to do business. Matt, I'll let you take this one. Ben asked, can we talk about content posts and how they differ from LinkedIn to Twitter?
Oh, yeah. Wow. What a great question. So even though that Twitter has changed their format and allow you to do a lot longer form stuff, that's actually not what people like. Twitter needs to be text-based, image-based, specifically mostly text-based, short, fast, and engaging, right? Where LinkedIn, and Charlie, I'm gonna leave that to you. I mean, you're the LinkedIn master, right? So when it comes to Twitter, that's exactly what you need to do. But why don't you talk about what you have found works the best on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so there's a lot of people who want to use, I don't know how many characters now, 2,000 characters or something. It's got to be short based also, but also gives you the opportunity to tell a story where Twitter is not going to give you that opportunity,
Nope.
right? So I love video on LinkedIn. I love video on LinkedIn. So if you are comfortable, now my videos, wherever my phone is, I keep checking it to make sure we're on time. And Matt, we're running quick. We got to hustle a little bit.
We got to get rolling.
Yeah, we do this. This is we do this. I mean, this is my recording tool, right? I mean, and often it's like this. Sometimes I have it on a tripod. But I love video on LinkedIn. I love polls on LinkedIn. There you go. Awesome. Small little tripod. You got it. I love polls on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn loves polls. In our business, I can ask a poll. Now we do some CRM work, right? CRM admin work. I can put a poll out on LinkedIn. It's going to get greater exposure than anything else I put out there. And I can say, how active are you on your LinkedIn or on your CRM, right? And I can know by the people who answer that poll who I can provide service to that's going to help, right? So I use polls to gather intelligence about my audience, right? Who needs my service? Who doesn't need my service? Who's a good collaborator? Da 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 da. I will say with LinkedIn, consistency, right? You've got we post 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's a weird thing that happens if I only get 2 posts out a week. Sometimes if I got something special to talk about, I might get 4 or 5 posts out in a week, but I am consistently Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I am there to start a conversation with anybody that comments on my post. Right. So I am not posting and forgetting about it because LinkedIn sees that too. If you're present, when you're present, your content's in front of more people because they know that you're going to be able to have a conversation. Right. So I got stuff to show, Matt, but we're running short on time.
Dude,
So
let's just go.
well,
Let's get to
no, I don't. I don't. Well, I've got a couple of I've got a couple of and I don't know if it's going to share my screen or if it's just stuck on. Tell me if are you seeing did we just flip over to a Google? Are you still on the PowerPoint?
We're still on the PowerPoint. Yeah.
Okay. I probably have to stop share and then share a different screen.
Okay.
So such good questions, man.
Yeah, this is one of those things where we need to stop telling so many stories.
I know, man. I know. We need to do better with controlling our time. Of course, got to let the video panes drop and stuff before I get. So I want to show just a couple pieces of content real quick. It's one of our clients. Colin's awesome. Got messages popping in here. Okay, cool. So this is the one I want to show first. So Colin's a buddy. He's Jenny Montgomery Scott advisor in Delaware, I believe. It's a post I wanted to share. This is this is something that Colin's passionate about, right? Yeah. And so Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, they support, which just show a kind of exposure and engagement that this stuff got, right? 34 comments on that. And I would think that Colin's part of those comments. Sure, that's going to count his comments too. And because I'm not on the admin side of things, I can't see what the exact exposure was. But imagine, the advisors out there that are sharing the firm approved content or that canned stuff that's coming out of another firm or something. Like, when's the last time you got 23 people to like your post? Or, cut this in half because Colin's half those comments, 17 people to actually comment on it. Now, here's what's cool. This is the relatable content, Kira. Now I'm going to click on, I can't even do it because here, if I move this a little bit, the video pane drops down and hides all my browser tabs there. So now this is the same exact guy, right? Posting for his niche business owners in his location. He's even got 14, he's got 15 likes on that and 14 comments, of which Colin's probably half these. He's actually not even half those. Check that out. Right. So he's got 14 comments on a business focused post. That doesn't happen if this is all he posts. Right. Now it doesn't hurt that it looks good and that we created a nice post for him. But it's because of the relatable stuff and people falling in love with Colin Burke, and he's an awesome dude, but people falling in love with Colin Burke that now they're paying attention not only to his personal stuff, but his business stuff. And you bet when he runs a webinar, all those people are going to be there. Yeah. Right. That's creating influence by being relatable so that people are also consuming your expert type content. Right. So anyway, that's what I wanted to show with content there. While I'm here, because we're short on time, Matt, we got a couple of resources and then we're going to dive into your offering as well. Here's a couple downloadable things if I can get to them. Our websites might be a little long there, I guess. Here's some things like if you're thinking of content, you're struggling with coming up with things to post, we got a content calendar that you can download. A little case study on how to get greater performance for your content. And then this is CRM related, so I won't worry about talking about that. But here's a couple of nice content downloads on the website, social-advisors.com, if you want to check that out. And now, because the screen share is weird, let me click back into the PowerPoint. And we will move along. All right. So, Matt, I'm going to rip through this, okay?
Yeah, go.
I'll be super quick.
Yep.
Okay. So every day, send invites. Every day, send invites on LinkedIn. I would show you Sales Navigator and how you find your audience. We don't have time for that today. That's okay.
No, they should join another one of your webinars because you talk about that.
Another webinar. Go to our YouTube channel. There's all kinds of videos about Sales Navigator on there, right? Send invites into your niche audience every day. Grow your network, grow your audience, share content consistently. I think we've beaten that one. This is what Cheryl was talking about in her long paragraph, Matt. Cheryl reaches out to someone new, tags them in a post, tags their business, starts a conversation with them. Every single day, she reaches out to one person in that regard, starting a relationship. And you can be strategic with that, right? When we coach advisors, we're coaching them to reach out to 3 people, whether that's, someone in your network that you really want to get to know because they're well connected. Maybe it's a COI, maybe it's somebody you want to turn into a prospect, maybe it's somebody at the local magazine that can get you some press, maybe it's a guy like Matt who can make you a superstar on a podcast, right? 3 people every day. Be strategic. There's ways to start conversations that are non-threatening, right? Comments on their posts, right? You don't have to try to sell to them. Just be cool, right? Just be cool. Now, our measurement, right? When you've got a network like Matt Halloran's, 13,000 people on LinkedIn, when you run a webinar, part of running that webinar is understanding who in your big network is paying attention. It's difficult otherwise. You need a way to measure that influence. So when you run a webinar like this, and Matt, you and I got a couple hundred signups, so there's 75, 80 people here today. There's 75, 80 people who we're influencing in some regard, right? I hope it's good stuff we're influencing with, but that's a measurement tool, right? So it's a way for us to know, okay, so who's paying attention? And that's important, right? So ripping through this stuff. Now, here's our offer. So Post Party is this, I'm going to admit it's a hack. I hate saying that, but it's a hack.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about the algorithm on LinkedIn, right? From what we can tell, you've got to get early engagement on your content. And so Post Party is here to help you get early engagement on your content. So LinkedIn shows it to a much larger audience, right? So what Post Party is, we'll give you 30 days free. Try it out. It's at socialpostparty.com. The promo code is 30 days free. Seems obvious. This is based on an engagement pod concept, right? And all an engagement pod is you inviting 20 of your friends to post at the same time and then interact with each other. It's a great concept. The problem with engagement pod is you invite 20 people, 3 people are going to show up consistently, which doesn't really move the needle. So what Post Party does, it just organizes 8 engagement pods a week. You post in one of those pods and you're guaranteed to get 15 people commenting and liking your content. These are not necessarily prospects, so they could be. But what it does, it helps LinkedIn score your content higher, so it puts it in front of a larger portion of your network. That's it. It's a hack, I admit it, but it's a way to make sure that your content's getting in front of a much, much larger audience. My friend?
Yeah, so we want to continue offering you guys a whole bunch of free stuff. So the QR code, which you just take a picture of it on your phone, is going to take you directly to our, we have something called the Influence Readiness Score. And what it is it's a quick 20 question thing that's going to take your pulse on if you have the right mindset and are doing the right behaviors to be more influential. It is free. And I promise you that those are 20 thought-provoking questions. And you can also go to PodRocket Academy or proudmouth.com/academy and go there and you can join our PodRocket Academy for free. If you want to learn how to start your own podcast, do audio, do video, learn social media posts, branding, it's all free. It's all free. It's all free. Go ahead and go to PodRocket Academy and join. Our goal is to help change how advisors think about themselves in the world of marketing, and also to help you stop being the best kept secret, which is why Charlie and I are so aligned on all of this. Charlie's entire system is to help raise your visibility and get your voice out in the marketplace. We do the same thing. We just do it with a different media. That's it. So
that's it. And I don't think that either of us are thinking either or.
Oh, it's an and, brother.
It's an and, man. It's an and. So even just with RA Collective, the podcast, which is not even a business development podcast, the following has grown dramatically. Like we don't leverage that for growth for social advisors. That's got a very pure, help in the industry, but it creates so much more awareness, right? So that's it's just anyway. So let's see, just checking on chats here real quick and Q&A and Social Post Party, just like paid interactions. No, it's not. It's not like, so the question is from an anonymous attendee, is Social Post Party like paid interactions? It's not. It's a community of content creators that are working together to help raise each, all boats float, right? So there's, gosh, I don't even know how many people involved in Post Party. It's not all financial services. We're one of 6 agencies that work with this platform. And so you're going to get all different walks of life in Post Party. And 8 times a week at a scheduled time, we run a post party. And all it is you make your post on LinkedIn. It's got to be a post you create. It can't be one of the canned pieces of content from the industry. You copy the link, you put it in the website. The website sends it to 15 people. You get 15 people's links, and you take the next half hour or so and engage with those 15 people. And you've got 15 people returning that favor for you. So it's a simple concept, but it's really effective in making, greater exposure. Now, what's important here is if you're not growing the right network, Post Party doesn't matter, right? Like if you don't have the right people seeing your content, who cares if it gets seen? So you got to grow a network, consistently. I say every day, if you spend time sending out, LinkedIn's going to let you send out 25 or 30 invites a day.
Yep.
Right. Maximize it if you have the time to do that. If you don't, we can help you with that. If you'd rather do it yourself, send 10, send 15. Yeah. But your content really only matters if you're accumulating the right eyeballs to see it. Right. So. All right. Good question though. So I just took that photo. Oh, what just happened there?
I don't know,
I just took that photo because I liked yours so much, Matt. I had to get my mustache, and I don't think I had. I don't think I had any other. I don't think I had any other. Sorry, I'm clicking through windows that you guys can't see. I don't think. I don't think I had any other pictures of my mustache in it. So I took it real quick before we hopped on here. But so yeah, listen, we're easy people to find.
Yeah.
Right. So if you've got any questions about social advisors or, about content marketing in general, about, how to use LinkedIn, whatever the case may be, Sales Navigator, I'm a resource to you. Hit me up. I'm not going to try to sell you anything, I promise. Matt.
Same thing. If you want to learn how to accelerate your influence, and you can either hire us to do it for you, or you can go to our PodRocket Academy and learn how to do it for yourself. But all of it hinges off of, you don't know what you don't know. And so that quick influence readiness score is going to make a big difference for you to find out. We're going to be posting a lot more about, we have a short version and we got a long version, but yeah, dude, Charlie and I are everywhere. I mean, we're going to see you at conferences. I know Charlie doesn't do as many conferences as I do, but listen, if you're going to be at a conference, hit me up on LinkedIn, see if we're going to be there. I'd love to meet up. Follow us on LinkedIn. One of the Charlieisms or the mantras that I really have embraced in knowing Charlie is just be available, be genuine, be honest, and be helpful, right? I hope that you felt that on today's webinar. I hope that you feel that in following us on social. That's really what we're here for. If we can solve a problem for you, we would love to be your solution. But if not, just be better, that 1% every day, right? Just try to do what you can. If you can't do 10, do 1, and then do 2, and then do 3, and then do 4, right? It's all about momentum, and that's the goal. And that's what Charlie and I both want you to have. So
Matt, you're awesome, dude. I appreciate you taking time, dropping some wisdom, showing off your beard.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it as always.
Yeah. And everybody else who was here with us. It's good to see the numbers, man. Like, really, honestly, like, I'll tell you, we didn't do a very good job marketing this to start, did we?
No, we did not, but
it was kind of short.
Right,
it was kind of short notice. We put it all together in the last month or so. And then I think on, like Friday when we spoke, I think we had like 40 people signed up. Yeah. And then we did an all courts press, and we had, I think, almost 200 registrations. I saw the number exceed 80 of attendees.
Yeah.
So dude, in 4 or 5 days of hard work, nice job, my man.
Yeah. We appreciate all your hard work, brother.
Yeah. For everybody who showed up, thank you so much. And all the interaction. It's so fun to get questions and all the interaction. And, it certainly makes for a better conversation. So listen, have an awesome rest of your day. Matt Halloran, hit me up if I can ever be a friend or, do anything for you. Anybody who is here, same thing.